feel like the default position now with Jean-Paul Gaultier is just to praise their fragrances no matter what. I don't know why people are giving this positive reviews. I feel like this is kind of overrated, and also longevity is around 4 to 6 hours, and it's not the best, especially when they have fragrances like Paradise Garden, which is a long-lasting fragrance in general. Lately on the channel, I've been doing single reviews for new fragrances, but so many new fragrances are coming out nowadays. Actually, I thought it'd be easier if I just do like a summary video at the end of every month, and I'll let you know what I think of the main popular new releases and whether or not I think they are full bottle worthy. Let me know, guys, if you would prefer the single reviews or these kind of summary videos. For the fragrances I've already done single reviews of, I'll just do a quick summary of them to get through them initially, and then we'll do some other new releases I've been trying. Of course, we have to talk about Dior Homme Parfum 2025. This is potentially the most famous or infamous and most controversial release of this month. This is Francis Kurkdjian's latest addition to Dior, in the main line at least. And basically this smells like cocoa, a bit of iris, woody, ambery, designer-esque. It reminds me of a Givenchy Gentleman fragrance. Pleasant, okay performance, nowhere near as masterful as the original Dior Homme Parfum. Hence why myself and many others kind of see this as a bit lackluster. I gave this a 7.5 out of 10. Not a bad score necessarily, but quite disappointing. But it smells pleasant enough. You should go try it out in store if you can anyways. Rabann's Phantom Elixir. Potentially the best from the lineup now. This is an interesting mix of vanilla, mineralic notes. There's an oud note in there, I think, as well. It kind of reminds you of Oud Mineral from Tom Ford mixed with a, let's say, Invictus Victory Elixir, like a fruity, woody amber type feeling in this fragrance. It's quite generic overall, I have to admit. It's not the best performer, unfortunately. It's like a 6 to 8 hours long lasting fragrance with a soft and medium projection. But it's quite fun, youthful, it's worth trying as well. I also gave this a 7.5 out of 10 from what I remember. Tom Ford Bois Pacifique. Surprising new release from the brand. This smells like a smoky Middle Eastern frankincense fragrance that is woody, ambery, spicy, a little bit dry. It's kind of like if you took Dior Homme Sport 2021 and made it a bit more dry and Middle Eastern. This is kind of what you'll get with this fragrance. Quite sexy as well, quite versatile as well. At the same time, it is quite expensive. Overall, I gave this an 8.5 out of 10. I feel like it's not back to where they were in their heyday with Tom Ford. It's not the glory days quite yet, but I do think it's a step in the right direction. I think most people should check this out. And lastly, I got that surprise one spray of Kilian Angel's Share Paradis when I went to their store, so I did a video on that. It's sort of like a more unisex candied raspberry liqueur take on Angel Share, less cinnamon focused, more of that sort of candied sugary effect of Amore Caffè. I actually feel like on the dry down it smells more like Amore Caffè. Now it's a bit more unisex, leaning a little bit feminine. Seems to have a similar performance as well. It's worth trying out. I do prefer the original Angel Share. I gave Paradis an 8 out of 10. Now let's talk about some new releases that I haven't reviewed on the channel yet, and this is the first one here. This is Valentino Uomo Extradose. Questionable name, and the bottle looks the same as Uomo Born in Roma Intense, and that kind of summarizes this fragrance. This smells similar to that scent. It is fruity, woody, ambery. It's sort of like that ambery, woody, gloopy kind of style of perfumery that a lot of modern fragrances have nowadays. It's more of the same basically, but this is an extrait de parfum, where it's a stronger concentration. It's basically, as the name says, it's an extra dose of Born in Roma Intense. It sort of is in that vibe of that fragrance as well as Coral Fantasy. Like I say, with a lot of Valentino Uomo releases, you don't really need to get more than one. You either get, I would say get Uomo Intense and Coral Fantasy. This is not bad. This is, again, Born in Roma Intense and this are the most similar to each other. You definitely don't need both of those fragrances. It lasts over 8 hours and it has a louder projection as well. So you don't need to get Born in Roma Intense anymore. If you get this at a good price, get this instead. But I still do think Coral Fantasy is a bit more sexy, it's a bit more balanced. This is quite heavy on the Ambroxan as well as it dries down. Whilst Coral Fantasy, I just feel like that musky apple, red apple vibe is quite nice. I prefer that overall in this kind of style in Valentino. And then Valentino Uomo Intense is good for the nice iris approach to perfumery. Not bad, mass opinion, gets the job done. It'll probably get a lot of hype online. I personally though would give this a 7.5 out of 10. I'm kind of bored of the style already at this point in time in 2025. 37.9% of people who watch School of Scent are subscribed to us. If you guys really want to see our channel grow, go ahead and click subscribe. Let's get that number to 40%. Thank you. Actually, Valentino did gift me the women's version as well, the Donna Born in Roma Extradose. I'll try it live on camera for the first time as well here. Okay, interesting bottle. This is what it looks like on camera, guys. I don't think I've ever tried any of the Donna fragrances. Very youthful, flowery, fruity, candied. It reminds me of like that Britney Spears, that pink ball one from a long time ago. It's that kind of vibe. Again, they're both better for teenagers. I feel like this line is generally a teenage line. So yeah, if you're a youthful girl watching this channel for some reason, you can go ahead and try this out also. The rest of the fragrances I'm going to talk about in this video, I actually got samples from Scented Samples, who I believe are based in here in the UK. I got samples because nowadays it's very expensive to keep buying all these new fragrances, and even more so, I don't like having a lot of bottles I'm just not going to use. Most new releases I'm not a big fan of, guys. You might notice that. Like, I do feel there's a lot of redundant stuff that's just really forgettable, unfortunately. But let's see if maybe we can get a full bottle worthy fragrance from one of these four. First of all, we have Jean Paul Gaultier Le Beau Flower Edition. I don't understand why people are giving this good reviews online. I don't quite get it. So this is a 3-note fragrance. I don't know why a lot of new releases are doing this as well. I feel like they should give us more to work with. It's got kumquat, it's got violet leaf, and then some cashmere or musk, some kind of third note in the base there. And yeah, it has that vibe. It's that kind of fruity watermelon tropical vibe, but that violet leaf is green and it is sharp, and it kind of reminds me of Fahrenheit, but I love Fahrenheit. I'm not feeling this, I gotta be honest with you guys. To me, I gave it 2 full wearings. I think 2 full wearings I gave it, and to me, in those first few hours, that violet leaf is so pungent. It just strikes through and attacks your nose. And it doesn't really get better until at least 2 or 3 hours in. Even now, it just feels sharp, almost gas-like, like the petrol effect from Fahrenheit is there. That violet leaf just feels like it's not done well here. I feel like the default position now with Jean Paul Gaultier is just to praise their fragrances no matter what. I don't know why people are giving this positive reviews. I feel like this is kind of overrated. And also, longevity is around 4 to 6 hours. It's not the best, especially when they have fragrances like Paradise Garden, which is a long-lasting fragrance in general from the brand for the summertime. This is definitely a fruity, tropical, fun, youthful spring and summertime fragrance, but I'm not feeling this. I personally would give this a 6 out of 10. Maybe I'm being unfair, guys. Let me know if maybe you're getting something different. But yeah, I'm getting that violet leaf very sharp for the scent. Mancera Fig Me Up. What a name, and an interesting note breakdown as well. I was quite intrigued by this fragrance. I don't even know, is this even a January 2025 release? Actually, a few of these fragrances are not even from this month, but I'm just gonna throw them in there, guys, because it's my channel. And this fragrance has an interesting note breakdown of that plum, the fig, has oud in there as well as other interesting notes. I can't remember them now, but this fragrance has a lot of promise initially. It kind of reminds me of Plum Japonais, like a more bright, summery version of Plum Japonais. I thought to myself, okay, this smells really nice. The fig is kind of there as well. It has another fruit, which I can't remember now, but it's mainly that plum, actually. I feel like it's more of a plum fragrance than a fig fragrance. It smells like it's going to be good for the spring, summer, and the autumn time. And then it kind of just falls flat. You feel like it's going to be a long-lasting fragrance. It's a fragrance that kind of surprises you. It lasts around 4 to 6 hours, and it just kind of goes away really quickly, very disappointingly. And it's not just me. It seems like the longevity rating is similar on Fragrantica as well. So yeah, it's kind of disappointing. It's going to be a Mancera price tag. It's kind of nice. Maybe it's worth trying out, but I feel like this has a lot of promise in the initial opening and then kind of just falls flat at the end. I was potentially going to give this a 9 out of 10, but I think I have to drop this to a 7 out of 10. It just kind of goes really flat and dry down. It just feels like it didn't get finished off in the base well enough, and it doesn't last long enough. So yeah, 7 out of 10, but interesting idea. Dolce&Gabbana Devotion Pour Homme. This is an interesting fragrance. I didn't even know this was coming out. I don't know why Dolce&Gabbana needed to make this line. It's a coffee-based fragrance. So it's like bergamot, coffee, patchouli, I think. It's like woody, musky, ambery. It has the modern style. It kind of has that Mediterranean style of being an Italian brand that Dolce&Gabbana go for, but I feel like their fragrances and their packaging designs for the bottle just aren't as cool and laid back and confident as they used to be. I still feel like, you know, if you look at the bottle of Devotion, put that versus the one Eau de Parfum, which bottle just looks cooler, which fragrance smells cooler? I feel like they've become unnecessarily juvenile with their style, Dolce&Gabbana. This fragrance, though, let's talk about it. It's simplistic, bright citruses, warm ambery, has that coffee note in there which lasts a good few hours. It's not bad at all. It seems to last around 6 to 8 hours, maybe actually pretty good performance for the first in the flanker that's presumably going to eventually become an elixir. It's already a pretty good performer as it is. You can wear this most of the year round as well. Maybe not a wintertime fragrance, but all the other seasons you can wear this pretty good, day and night. So you know what, if you're looking for a coffee-based signature, let's say you want the more simplified, designer version of something like Xerjoff's Golden Green or Golden Dallah, that kind of vibe. You definitely don't need green Stravaganza and this at the same time. It would be redundant to own both in my opinion, but it's not a bad fragrance, Devotion. Try it out, it's a 7 out of 10. Next up we have Lattafa Teriyaki Intense, which is a fragrance that got a lot of hype actually late 2024. This is not January either, but you know, let's pretend it is, guys. This was made by Quentin Biche. It had a big launch event for it as well. Quite interesting. It had a plum note in there. It was plum liqueur. So it's plum liqueur, tobacco, cinnamon, vanilla. And when I smelled this fragrance and then looked at those notes, I can see why it reminds me of certain fragrances. If you like fragrances like Guerlain's L'Homme Ideal Extreme, you will very much like this, especially in the opening and mids. This smells boozy, plum-based, a little bit candy with that plum. It has that cinnamony tobacco mixture that does remind you of those other fragrances I mentioned. It shares those notes, and as it dries down, it's more of a vanilla benzoin fragrance. It's lasted a long time as well, maybe around 10 hours with a soft to medium projection. I feel like this is a really sexy evening scent that's unisex as well overall in the middle. You can wear this in the autumn, spring, and the winter time. So it's got good versatility also. Very good price as well. Great perfumery by Quentin Biche. The dry down does remind you more of fragrances like Grand Soir or Mercedes-Benz Club Black, that benzoin ambery vanilla combo there. Super sexy. It smells higher quality than its price tag. It's not the most mind-blowing blend in the world. I wouldn't give this a 10 out of 10. I'd maybe give it a 9 out of 10, but I do think the hype is well deserved. I know some people in the comments are going to say, Omar's been bought out by Lattafa. I have not been bought out by them. They would, why would I only have a sample of their fragrance? So no, this is not a sponsored video by them, but I would say this is 9 out of 10. Good stuff, actually very much worth the hype. And to finish off the video, we have another Quentin Biche fragrance, which is Amouage Purpose 50. We have Purpose 50 Junior and Purpose 50 Senior over here. This is a very nice fragrance. The name Purpose 50 tells you that this is an extrait de parfum at a really high concentration, 50% extrait de parfum, similar to Reflection 45, Jubilation 40. I've even smelled Interlude 53 as well. This is a very expensive line from Amouage, these high extrait fragrances. They're usually over £400, $450, that kind of price range. I got gifted it for free. I'm very grateful for that, but I'm going to be rating it based on the price. It has to fill in some big shoes with that. Overall, this is a frankincense fragrance. This is very dry, woody. It smells a little bit soapy as well. It has, I think, some citruses in here. It smells very clean, almost like a dry cedarwood fragrance as well, but it has oud in here as well, I believe. It's almost like a very fancy Omani royal family bar of soap is how I would describe this fragrance. This can be your signature for sure, and it lasts a really long time and projects beautifully as well. It's a strong fragrance also, so performance is there. Compared to those other high extrait fragrances that I mentioned before, I feel like this doesn't have as much character as those scents. It's definitely well blended. It has some very high quality ingredients in here, but you kind of feel like this is not in the $400 price range. Like it doesn't feel like it deserves that. If this was a fragrance that was, let's say, £100 cheaper, I might give this like an 8.5 out of 10. At this price range, I might say it's a 7.5 overall. It just feels like it has to meet really high standards to ask for this price. It's not my favorite, but it's worth checking out at the same time. I still feel like some people will really fall in love with this. It's just very clean at the same time. Clean, but rich and interesting. I still haven't smelled anything else quite like this. Not my favorite from Quentin Biche, not my favorite from Amouage, but still a cool creation. I give it props anyways. That concludes this video, guys. To me, the two most full bottle worthy fragrances from this month, kind of from this month, I will say Bois Pacifique by Tom Ford. Nice fragrance from them. This is a new release from this month. And then also I would say Lattafa Teriyaki Intense, which technically came out last year, but also a very good fragrance, especially for that price. What do you guys think of new fragrance releases nowadays? Do you feel like they are going in the right direction? Do you like the modern day style that we're getting often these days? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to check out one of those single reviews up here, the Dior Parfum 2025 video. Thanks so much for watching, guys. See you in the next one. Bye.